Roger Federer would beat everybody else, or Magnus Carlsen would always win the chess match? Is it that sort of like well-defined?
So, for example, the best League of Legends player, he's from Korea. And the way he's able to play the game is, for example, in terms of poker, it would just be like, you know exactly what level your opponent is on. So essentially, it's like playing against a program which is written to counter every move you've made. So he's able to just predict exactly what you're going to do and counter it immediately. And, you know, it is known to be, he is the best in the world. And there is just nothing, you know, there's like no competition at all, and he's like being offered like a $3 million contract to play League of Legends professionally for a team.
Okay, a new career opportunity opens up. All right, I'm sure there must be a question or two out here in the audience. There's been some great stuff here. Come on, let me see a show of hands. We gave you guys coffee so you'd have something to say. So come on, raise a hand. Anybody?
Hang on, I want to...
Yeah, you were talking about how strategies have changed and trends. What's the trend du jour in the poker world? Like, what are you seeing that you didn't see this time last year, this time 2 years ago? Like, are min raises in, or is it 3.5x? You know, is nobody check raising anymore? Like, what is it?
One thing I've noticed that it's become far more common to see like small blind completes. People tend to not raise as much. Limping has become far more standard and accepted, and quite often big blinds, you know, I guess just blind aggression when it's folded down to the blinds has decreased a lot. And generally speaking, pre-flop raising wars in various positions are just way less common now than they used to be. You'd see these, you know, hero click back type things. Yeah, we know. Yeah, Vanessa. Well, she's always a trend breaker and a trendsetter. But generally speaking, you tend to see a lot more flatting, and that often is the more correct thing to do.
Okay, Miss Physicist, is there? I mean, it's one thing for something to be a trend. Oh, wait, Vanessa had something she wanted to say. But okay, it's one thing for something to be trend, or you know, the cool thing to do this week. Is there mathematical grounding for this?
I mean, very situationally dependent, but yes, more often than not, your 3-bets still aren't generally that big. People are still doing in the sort of 2.2 to maybe 3x range. And obviously then that mathematically depends sort of what kind of range you can profitably call, depending on, you know, number of players, antes, etc. And before, I think people weren't aware of what they can mathematically call, and so they just were like, I don't know what to do, I'll 4-bet or fold. Whereas now people are more comfortable playing out a position because they've just looked at the math and seen what ranges, are perfectly fine to call.
I think the thing about trends in poker is that it's a mix of strategy, counter-strategy, counter-strategy, but it's converging towards the mathematical solution. So kind of what I mean by that is, like what Liv was saying is, okay, so people realized, you know, it used to be you would get 3-bet like 10 years ago. It was aces or kings. Okay, I fold, you know. And then it was like, okay, people realized they could 3-bet bluff, you know, and then people were folding too much. So then people started 4-betting. And then people realized, okay, well, everybody just has like random 2 cards in their thing, so if I'm getting like 5-1 on my money, the odds are really good. That's the mathematical piece of it. And then people realized, okay, I'm getting called all the time. Maybe I shouldn't be 3-betting as often because it's not quite as effective as it used to be. And that's the strategy part of it. But it's converging towards the mathematical solution. But if like you could see a situation where people went back to only 3-betting aces or kings, it wouldn't really matter what odds you were getting because, I mean, it would matter what odds, but they wouldn't be enough probably to call against that range. So, you know, it's kind of that, it's kind of both things, I think. But the one other, like, really random, I mean, you talk about these trends, I mean, there's big overall trends, but then there's just, like, these little tricks. Like, one thing that I've noticed is like people in the, at least at the higher stakes, I don't really know if it's going on like the 1Ks and stuff, but it, for like in all of 2015 and 2016, if someone, or 2014, 2015, if someone 3-bet you out of the big blind, it was always like a really good hand. And now it's just like everybody knew that that was true. So like all of a sudden in 2016, I swear I'm getting 3-bet out of the big blind more than I've seen in the last 10 years combined, and it's like always just junk. So, you know, you see these like little things like that, where it's like a few people, it's kind of like a snowball effect where a few people do it and then they see other good players do it, and then all of a sudden it's just like, you just expect it to happen like 5 times an hour basically. That's just one little thing.
So just recently, some people at Carnegie Mellon have got a, you know, the artificial intelligence world has turned its eye on poker. And the question I have is, and we don't know quite yet, but do you think that there's going to be something coming out of that that's going to start to approximate perfect off play? Do you think there's going to be some results where we're all going to look at them and go, holy shit, we thought that was so wrong, but now it's turned out to be, you know. Anybody want to answer that?
Well, I think we have had brains versus AI before matches, and you know, I think brains came out on top, and maybe, you know, with the I think that's the second season is actually running right now, and I think that we probably will see, you know, the brains coming out on top once again. I think that there is people who have you know, written certain programs to try to beat the game, and I don't think, you know, poker is so easily to be done, because I know that for certain situations, for you to come up with the best result, those numbers can be crunched for days. And, you know, I think when it comes to us real life players, you know, we may not get those exact, say, bet sizing to the point, but we can estimate well enough to make a great play, and we're able to react and play a lot better and faster than that of a machine.
Just to add on that, yeah, I would agree with the most part for now, but as computational, you know, it's solving Holden.
It's just a question of time.
Right. I think we've got still like a decent amount of time, so no need to worry. And I mean, this is only heads up they're trying to solve. You know, when it comes to full ring, the amount of, you know, computational power needed is basically exponential. It's huge, and so they still haven't, you know, perfectly, you know, got a perfect GTO machine. Heads up, no limit as far as I'm aware. And
GTO is game theory optimal.
Game theory optimal, which means basically it's an unbeatable strategy. Doesn't mean it's always the most profitable strategy, but it's always, you know, it means it's the most unbeatable thing. But, you know, there's quantum computing on the horizon quite likely, and, you know, there's a lot of tech breakthroughs that we might likely see in the next decade. So who knows if we can sort of get computer chips smaller and smaller until they're basically the size of a couple of atoms and they're doing funny things there, then we might see some big breakthroughs.
Oh, we've got another question out here. Just 1 second.
I know that PokerStars does a lot for women compared to the other sites, but I feel like there's been some steps backwards. There weren't satellites to the women's today, and I feel like half the population is being missed in terms of what could be drawn into poker. What do you think people could be doing to encourage more women to play poker?
Well, actually, I think it's like the first question of Leah was, how did you guys get into poker? Well, ask yourself how you got into poker and try to help other women. It's up to us, like, to make it as easy for other women to get into the game as well. I brought my cousin here. She's 41, never played a poker hand. I took one evening to just explain, like, the basics to her, and she's like, now what I get with what you guys do with those 3 cards on the board and who gets to take them, but now I get it. No one gets to just pick them up. They just stay there. You know, well, you know, but that's the thing. Like, when you see poker on TV, and in Holland, I'm from the Netherlands, we don't have that much poker on TV anymore, so you don't get into it that way. So now it's about the community, not just the women, but also the men. I think you guys want more women in the game. I think it's up to us to take the time and maybe explain a little bit, get them into it, and of course PokerStars does what they want to do, and I think they do a lot, but maybe, you know, I haven't kept track of everything they do or don't do. But I think a lot of it is up to us to play and dare to play, especially because from what I know from my field hockey days, when I used to do a clinic for boys and girls, the boys were always like, oh, I know how to do that trick. And the girls would be like, no, I don't. And in the end, the guys didn't know how to do that trick. And the girls learned very fast. So, you know, that's just what I experience. And that's what I experience with poker as well when I do poker workshops. The women are hanging out like on the side because they've never played. But a lot of guys just sit down and they bluff their way through it. They don't know what the hell they're doing. No, they don't, but they pretend to. And so I think it's about making people feel more comfortable to just give it a try and try to enjoy it, and it's okay to make mistakes as long as you enjoy the process.
Just the look in your eyes that shine so bright. Reach out over the ocean waves and try to come to